For so many of us, students, parents, teachers, online school has been a real mixed bag. But what if the problem isn't the whole idea of virtual school, but just the way it's usually designed? Today, we're going to break down a different way of thinking about K-12 online education, one that goes way beyond the standard model we've all gotten used to.
So what's the secret sauce here? What's the thing that separates a frustrating check-the-box online class from one that's actually effective, maybe even amazing? That's the big question we're tackling. We're going to look past the temporary fixes and really try to understand what a powerful virtual learning environment is supposed to look like. And here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into the core challenges that most virtual schools run into. Then, we're going to unpack the solutions for each one of those problems. We're talking personalization, flexibility, active learning, better support systems, the whole shebang. And then we'll wrap up by asking, what does this all mean for the future of learning?
Okay, so if we're going to build a better model, first, we have to be really honest about what's broken. The way online school is often set up creates some very specific frustrations that can really hold students back. Let's diagnose those core issues. And it turns out these frustrations aren't just random bad luck. They actually stem from 4 very specific design flaws that are kind of baked into the traditional system. So we're going to break down each one and see exactly how it impacts learning. All right, let's start with the first huge hurdle, the one-size-fits-all curriculum. This is the idea that every single student can learn the same thing from the same lesson at the exact same speed. And as you can probably guess, that kind of assembly line approach, well, it causes problems right out of the gate. So with that uniform approach, you've got this standardized pacing where some kids are just bored out of their minds and others are desperately trying to keep up. The solution? A total shift to personalized learning. Imagine technology that's smart enough to adapt to a student's level in real time. You combine that with something called universal design for learning, which basically just means giving kids options like text, audio, or interactive versions of the same lesson. And it's all powered by data that helps teachers see exactly who needs help and where, turning a uniform experience into one that's totally unique to each kid. Okay, so that brings us right to the second big challenge. A lot of online schools try to solve the pacing problem by offering self-paced work. But total freedom can seriously backfire. It can lead to students feeling isolated and eventually just checking out completely. And the contrast here is pretty stark. The old model just assumes every student is a master of time management. The solution is this really smart idea called guided flexibility. It's not a free-for-all. Instead, you get clear checkpoints, regular live classes with a real teacher, and teachers who proactively reach out when they see someone might be getting stuck. The big idea here is that flexibility is great, but it has to be supported by a strong, visible structure. Challenge number 3. This one's a biggie. Passive learning. I think we've all seen this. It's when students are just clicking through slides or watching videos. They're consuming information, sure, but they're not really engaging with it. And they're definitely not engaging with each other. So instead of learning being this solo activity, the new model proposes an active ecosystem. In this world, students are not just sitting back watching content. No way. They're active collaborators. They're applying ideas to real-world problems and having actual guided discussions. The whole focus shifts from just memorizing facts to actually building a community and sharpening those critical thinking skills. So you might be wondering, what does this active learning actually look like day to day? Well, it means students are working together in teams. They're tackling bigger, long-term projects and having real, meaningful discussions guided by a teacher. It's a model that flips the classroom, so live time is for doing things, not just for listening to a lecture. It forces them to become creators of knowledge, not just passive consumers. And finally, let's be real, even in the best system, students are going to get stuck sometimes. And that brings us to the 4th design challenge, making sure that when they do get stuck, help isn't just available, it's fast and it's effective. Because too often, that support is slow to show up if it shows up at all. The answer here is a coordinated, multi-layered support system. Think of it like this. The first line of defense is AI, these smart tools that can give instant feedback on practice work. Then that's backed up by structured peer tutoring, because we all know students often learn best by teaching each other. And watching over all of it, you have the teachers using data to see who needs help and then jumping in with that crucial human support. It's a safety net designed to make sure nobody falls through the cracks. So when you put all these pieces together, all these challenges and all these solutions, what do you get? Well, it's way more than just a set of new tools or apps. It's a completely different philosophy for what online education can and should be. At the end of the day, the goal is to completely transform that online learning experience. It's all about moving away from a model that feels isolated, rigid, and impersonal, and instead creating a learning journey that feels dynamic, that's deeply supportive, and that's truly personalized to each and every student. Which brings us right back to our big question, but now with a whole new lens. After seeing what's possible, it really makes you wonder, right? Should this combination of personalization, real structure, active learning, and fast support become the new benchmark? What should we, as parents, students, and educators, demand as the new standard for all virtual schools from here on out?